Welcome to the interview US edition.
In sunny Los Angeles, we meet America's top Koreans. James Yu, founder of KoreAm, a window into Korean life in the US. C.S. Lee's inside scoop on Dexter, revealed for the first time on Arirang.
Here in Washington, D.C.
Then we go to Washington to speak of freedom. A modern hero's take on human rights today. Dana Tysoon Burgess, an Asian American dancer, speaks to the world with his body.
In the city of cities, New York, New York.
Korean food wins over New York's trendiest diners. Be captivated by Hooney Kim's philosophy in the kitchen. Get ready for the interview's must-see United States edition.
MacDonald, and welcome to the interview US edition. I am so excited to be on the Walk of Fame right in front of the famous Grauman's Chinese Theater. Our US edition, our US tour has an amazing lineup, and I can't wait for you to meet everyone on this trip. Now, I have to get a little bit of sleep because I was on a long flight from Korea, but meet me tomorrow with our guest. See you later. Bye. Los Angeles, right in front of the KoreAm Journal and Audrey magazine offices. He has helped create a platform for many Koreans and Korean Americans to really launch their careers. And I know that you're going to recognize a lot of people on the covers of the magazine. Can't wait for you guys to go meet him. His name is James Ryu. Let's go take a look. Award-winning KoreAm, the oldest and most widely circulated English-language monthly magazine for the Asian American community. KoreAm, bringing together celebrities, serious journalism, and special events and charities. The hub of all that is Korean and American outside of Korea. And the man who created this platform is none other than James Ryu. Immigrating to the U.S. with his family as a preteen, James learned early on the importance of bridging two diverse cultures. After trying his hand at various businesses, together with his father, the young entrepreneur decided to start a magazine for Korean Americans in English to fill that special niche. Bridging the gap between Asian and Caucasian, East and West, KoreAm's role in the Asian American community is second to none for first and second generation Korean Americans. A man without whom the landscape of the Korean American community would not be what it is today. A true pioneer who helps Koreans and Korean Americans represent, James Ryu. Join me now as I talk to James Ryu on the interview.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you so much, James.
Hi,
Great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Wow, I love your office here.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you know, I'm looking at this wall here and I see some super famous faces.
Well, this is all the covers of one of the top ones that we've done in the past 20 years. And over there is Daniel Day Kim. That was our 20th anniversary issue.
Wow.
On Trio, that was 10 years ago.
Oh, great group.
2002.
Love them.
Yeah, I think they're pretty famous in Korea too.
Yeah, beautiful group. I mean, all these people look amazing and their careers are so, you know, so much at like the A level here in the States.
Yes.
And you know, sometimes I think Koreans in Korea may not know, you know, how big these people really are.
Right, I'm hoping to introduce some of them to you so that people in Korea would know as well.
Definitely.
This is all the back issues of KoreAm Journal and Audrey magazine.
Awesome.
And,
Wow.
all 22 years of a history
Fantastic.
of back issues.
Wow.
And we kept every single one of them. And
That's great.
It starts from the very first issue. And I want to
issue?
show you my very first issue
Okay.
that we
look.
published.
Oh,
And,
it's not in a magazine format.
Yeah, it's in newspaper format, and it's called KoreAm Journal at the time when we started. And the first issue that we, the cover story was to get, the title is called Get Involved. And we wanted to, all the Korean Americans get involved with the community issues.
Yes.
And get involved with interacting with one another. And
Wow.
we chose that topic.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm curious, what was the genesis or the reason for why you wanted to start this journal? Because this is a huge project to undertake, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And at the time, I was only 28 years old. And I looked at the Korean American community, and we didn't have a single publication that represented us. And we were able to communicate in English. And everything was in Koreatown was in Korean language. And I just wanted to have something that I could read,
Yeah.
and my friends can read. And so we just thought that would be a great idea to start an English language publication.
Wow. So what are some of the large topics that you cover within the Korean American community?
Well, at that time, we didn't focus so much on individuals. We did cover a lot of issues.
Okay.
And as you know, 2 years after we started this publication, there was the LA riot.
Yes.
And that was, that actually, it was a very, very tragic event took place, but at the same time, it actually brought the community together, understanding what are our responsibility as Korean Americans who live in the United States.
Yes.
We must to coexist with other community as well. And that was a big lesson learned in our part, as well
Yes.
as for the people in the city of LA.
Wow. Well, fantastic. Well, I see also here that you've got now the more magazine type format.
Yeah.
So what was the reason for changing over to a magazine type format?
Well, we stayed in the newspaper format for about 7 years, and gradually we said, well, we need to improve and change with times. This magazine was for young Korean Americans, and I think they're kind of showing this kind of paper to young Korean American, it didn't really fit the style.
I got
And so
that.
we said, well,
Make it a little bit more hip, a
yeah,
little bit
make
more.
it hip. So there are additional covers of KoreAm and Audrey
Oh, great.
on these walls here.
Wow, I see all kinds of people like Michelle Wee here.
Oh yeah, this is Michelle we cover. This was like about 7 years ago. She was 14 years old.
Wow.
And she was at that time, she was already qualified to play for LPGA event. I think at that time she even tried out for PGA event.
That's incredible.
She didn't make it, but we had really high hopes for her, and she was on our cover at age 14. I think she might have been the youngest individual to be on our cover.
Incredible.
This is Sandra Oh.
Yes, she's an amazing actress.
Yes, she is.
Wow.
I mean, she came from Canada, and she first debuted here about 12 years ago, and we discovered her. And then later, when she's in the Grey's Anatomy, she was able to make it into Audrey cover.
Wow, that's great. So Audrey, explain that to me. It's not just Korean Americans, it's all Asian Americans?
Yeah, Audrey is for all Asian American women. That magazine is first of its kind. There was no other Asian women magazine before Audrey started.
I know there are lots of Asian magazines for women in Asia, but nothing that's in English.
Nothing in English, right?
Wow, pioneer.
Yeah.
The first fashion show of Audrey magazine was held in Los Angeles for the celebration of its 4th anniversary. The extravagant annual event is the place to see and be seen with celebrities and Asian American designers.
Hi guys, it's Maylene. I love Audrey.
Hi, I'm Anai Noji and I'm from General Hospital and I'm here with Audrey Magazine.
This is the 2nd annual Audrey Fashion Show, and we're glad to do it. We're going to have over 1,000 people here today. Asian Americans are beautiful, and I love it. We love doing this. It's for you out there. Thank you.
Hey Audrey Magazine, it's James Kaiseline from Nero's. I just want to say congratulations on another amazing and successful fashion show. I'm excited. Thank you for having me as one of the guest models.
What up? We are the Far East Movement. Congratulations, Audrey.
Audrey Magazine, what up?
a woman who is intent on establishing and reinforcing her roots and getting in touch with her Asian American culture. Whether it's current social issues, profiles on must-know Asian Americans, or the latest in fashion and beauty, Audrey Magazine has readers coming back for more with every issue. James, once again, I'd like to thank you for letting us come into your space, invading your space with all our cameras and lighting.
You're welcome.
You know, I love your offices here. It's a pretty industrial, lofty space. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you. This is what happens when you don't have money. You have to be creative. This is actually a warehouse. We turned it into office. So, you know, we were pretty creative designing this office.
Well, I can definitely tell. I mean, I don't know about the lack of money part, but this is what people kind of strive for nowadays with their different office spaces like Google and Facebook. They like to do something kind of cool and resting space for their employees.
Yeah.
So now this has started out as a family business for you. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it was.
And tell me about the beginnings of KoreAm, and you and your father started together, yes?
Yeah. You know, as I mentioned to you earlier, you know, I wanted to start a publication for English language, or for the people who spoke English. And at that time, and this is back in, you know, I got to go all the way back to 1990, where my father's background is, he was a professor at Miami of Ohio, teaching mass communication. And before that, even in Korea, he was a writer. He also taught at high school, and he always loved writing. And so, right about the same time when I wanted to start a KoreAm Journal, we purchased a magazine called Korean Community News, which was written and distributed in English language.
So Korean Community News was a company that you bought in
Yes.
order to start this company?
Yeah, what we did was we purchased Korean Community News in Korean language, and my father wrote, and I did the logistic part. I took it to the printer, and I kind of understood how the printing process was made.
I see.
And we did that for about almost a year. And my father continued to write for the Korean language paper, and I started the English language publication.
How did you come up with the name KoreAm Journal?
Well, you know, it wasn't my idea. You know, at that time there was a magazine called Korean, which was in Korean language, and I hired a editor. She was in charge of coming out with the name, and she said the proper way of mixing Korean and American is KoreAm, and so we started a new word, KoreAm, and I'm hoping that by now it'll be in the dictionary.
Well, I know that it's at least in the Wikipedia.
Oh yes.
Let's go back a little to your beginnings. So you were born in Korea, yes?
Yes, I was born in Seoul, Korea.
Okay. And what was the reason your parents came stateside?
My father got his master's from Syracuse back in late 60s by himself. He went to Syracuse and came back. And in 1972, I guess he got an offer from University of Oregon to get his PhD. And so at that time, he didn't want to leave the family behind again. And he suggested idea to our family, and everybody was, you know, all for it. Who would not want to move to the United States?
Especially at that time, because there were so many people coming from Korea to the States, to Brazil, to everywhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we liked the idea, and we all supported, and we decided to move to the United States, and that's how we came.
So what was it like for you as a sixth grader? It must have been a really tough time for you to just switch cultures, switch languages, and just be put in a totally new environment.
Yeah, it was tough. You know, before we came, we actually flew into LA 6 months before when we found out we were going to come to the United States. You know, I started going to night school to try to learn some English. And, you know, not a single word stayed in my head. I couldn't understand anything. I knew the alphabets, but the words just doesn't come to my head. And so it was very tough. And even after we moved, we moved to Eugene. And
Oregon?
In Eugene, Oregon.
Uh-huh.
And there aren't too many Koreans there at the time.
No.
All the people that move to Eugene are usually students from abroad. And we had some other Korean families, but just trying to learn, it was just very hard. 6th grade, let alone just trying to understand the culture of how the Americans were at the time. It was a very, very difficult time.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about you is that you were very active in high school and college with sports.
Right.
Tell us about your love of sports and your athleticism.
I guess, you know, I was cooped up in home a lot when I was growing up in Korea. I played piano, I practiced 2 hours a day. In Korea, you know, obviously when you're good, your parents always put you in a competition with other kids. And I traveled to go to different parts of the city to just compete in playing piano. And, you know, the funny thing is, I like piano, not because I would like playing piano, but when I go to piano lesson, it's all girls. And I was only boy. And so it was kind of fun because I see all these cute girls playing piano, and you get to talk to them. And so I kind of thrived on that. And so, you know, at a young age, you know, when like growing up, you know, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, you kind of knew who you were, and those girls were pretty attractive and enough for me to continue to practice. And that's why I continued to practice, I think. And so
that's so funny.
you know, growing up like that, and you come to the United States, and you're kind of free to do what you want to do. And my parents never didn't want to force me upon piano, but I continued to learn the piano. But at the same time, you know, just being a boy, you know, just you have a lot of energy, and I channeled that to playing basketball, and I was pretty good at it. And so, in the first couple of years, I was kind of learning the process. By the time I was 8th grade, I was almost this height. By 9th grade, I was, by 15, I was same height. I never grew after that. So, yeah, that was an advantage for me. And at that time, I remember jumping and, you know, playing and being able to touch the rim at 9th grade.
Touching the rim at 9th grade,
Yeah,
wow.
and I, you know, same height. So I felt really comfortable just playing basketball. So, you know, and sports was second nature to me, and I enjoyed it. In high school, I played for high school basketball team.
Like a varsity team.
For a couple of years, and it was pretty good. I even tried out for Miami of Ohio basketball team, but didn't make it. That's when I was very humble because there are so many other good players in collegiate level. But then again, I did get a letters from smaller school to wanted to play, but because my father was going to Miami, I had a free education. And
That's
so
nice.
I decided to go there and try out for the team, but didn't make it. You know, but I still enjoy playing recreational.
When you were in college, you took a little bit longer than the regular, 4-year route.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, you know, I entered Miami of Ohio as an architect major. And, you know, the reason I chose that major was because in high school, you know, as I was telling you, my English wasn't that good. Math I was really good at it, and I was really good at art. So, you know, art and math, these are the things the skills that I honed from when I was elementary school. So I kind of kept it up.
I see. And now that art has come into the
Yeah,
KoreAm Journal
so
and Audrey Magazine.
Yeah, imagine that, right? You kind of use all the skills that you've you know, acquired when you were young.
And architectural design here.
Yes, yeah, all that stuff is kind of shown through here. And so I decided to be an architect because I think that was the only field that I felt comfortable because I couldn't be a doctor or lawyer or engineers even. And so, you know, I felt real comfortable, but doing that for 2 years at Miami, I just realized it wasn't for me because architect, you get cooped in a room and just design and just, I don't know, the rigorous training that they put me through the first couple of years is just too tough for me. And I learned that I'm a much more personable with others. I like to do, you know, something that I can communicate with people.
Like a people person.
Yeah, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
And so architect was not it. And so when our family decided to move from Ohio to California in my junior year, so after we decided to move to California, I had to take a year off because of California residency law at the time. You have to pay additional $10,000 to attend a school in California.
Oh, a state school.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, we didn't have that much money, so that 10,000 was a lot. And so I decided to take a year off and get California residency and to attend the school in LA.
So what did you do during that year off?
Yeah, the 1 year was a good experience for me because that's when I learned how to cook sushi. Even to a point where I was very confident to start a small sushi bar at USC.
Really?
And just getting the whole experience of running a business was kind of intriguing for me. And at the time, making a decent money was very helpful for my college. And so took a year off and got really, got into some business, and then I went back to school and I switched my major. So this is going into the fourth year after high school.
I see.
I decided to go to Cal State Long Beach to be a business management major.
Gotcha.
And took me 5 years to graduate because I was going to night school most of the time and during working during the daytime.
So you went to night school, and then during the day, were you working with your father then?
No, I tried on different things because I didn't want to do. On and off, I did a sushi places here and there. I did some import-export company and try to get into more bigger business that I was trying to figure out. And so I did a lot of different types of business.
Well, like what?
Yeah, I mean, I was working at a grocery store. I was trying working at a smoothie store, trying to do more of a retail side of it. And I mean, each business I just learned and gained some knowledge in the business area.
Well, it seems that all of those different experiences really have helped you to know the industry in which you're working now, because you're working with so many different types of people with your work, right?
Yes, and I mean that's what my advice to any young people, even my son who is in junior in college, that school is school. I mean, you gain a lot of knowledge, but the real task comes in after you graduate and deal with people and deal with type of work that you're in, the environment that you're going to be working at, and be able to, if you want to be successful at those things or in business, you got to know those things.
Yes.
And people skill is very important.
Now, if you were to give someone advice on why people skills are important, what would you say?
Mainly because any type of business, you have to deal with different type of people. In my industry, we deal with celebrities. So there's a way to communicate with them and make them feel comfortable when you're interviewing them, and what you're doing to me right now. And when I'm dealing with clienteles, people who want to contribute the money or do advertisement, there's a different way of communicating. And so these are the things that is very important for you to be successful in your business. When one mistake of one way you deal with the client could cause a huge ripple effect in your company. One bad way of dealing with celebrity could cause a huge damage in the future too, because word gets out. If they find out you don't treat them well, or you're not being fair to them, these celebrity will speak up.
They're not shy. Yeah?
They're not shy at these kind of stuff, and so those kind of things that we have to deal. And I think growing up with a lot of dealing with different people has really helped me deal with all the ins and outs and everyday things that we deal with at the magazine.
There was something you said earlier about how your parents really supported you in following your dream and following your heart. I think that a lot of Korean parents, out of love for their kids, they want them to succeed. And usually, I think the majority of the advice that kids get is you need to be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. And if the child shows some type of artistic talent, a lot of times it's suppressed so that the child goes on a more typical Korean path. And your parents didn't necessarily do that with you. Do you think that that was a good decision on their parts?
It is a good decision, but the part that I didn't tell you is that growing up, they did want me to be a doctor and lawyer. The funny thing is, my brother married a doctor. I married a lawyer. So we have a doctor and lawyer in our family, which is good. But at the same time, I think they knew that, you know, being a lawyer and a doctor was not in my passion. And to this day, my mom still pushes my kids to be a doctor and a lawyer. So, I am thankful. I mean, I know they pushed me, but they realized at the end that was not my passion. So, nowadays, when you look when we interview the people in this industry, you do hear a lot of parents do support their kids to be artistic, and if that's their passion, that they do push that way. And so I think Korean American community is changing or have changed for the past 20 years. I have this tenacity of just not giving up. And I think that's something that I think maybe being a Korean American, I don't know where that comes from. I know we went through such a tough time through the magazine, especially the last 4 or 5 years when the economy was so bad. But for some reason, God willing, we were able to survive through this past 4 years. And I think that's, if I were to boast anything about it, I'm really, I like to stay focused and stay with it for a long time. And, you know, I'm married to my wife, and there were times that during the time when we're dating, I could have easily given up, but I never gave up, and we ended up being married. And she always tells me if I put my mind to it, and I can do anything, she says.
You've done a lot of things with the KoreAm Journal and your company. The two things in particular that I'd like to highlight would be first, KoreAm Pro-Am golf tournament, and the second would be Unforgettable.
Yes.
Could you tell us about how you decided to start the KoreAm Pro-Am?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, we've always struggled with financially. And when the ad revenue is not coming in the way it's supposed to, and you know, I can go into that, you know, why people are not advertising in our magazine, and they would prefer to advertise in Korean language publication, things like that. And you have to be creative. You have to figure out a way to survive. It's not like, you know, I have rich parents who was going to just continue to give me the money to pay for our bill. And so I thought about many different things that we can do as a publication, and it has to be in line with what we do. I can't be going up and starting a sushi bar to support a magazine. And so I started thinking about what are the assets that I have by doing this publication. We know a lot of celebrities. We know a lot of important people that are in the community, and they always support our publication. That has been probably the strength of this company. When you look at our financial statement, you know, we're always losing money, but in reality, everybody understands that we have the connection to all the celebrities out there. So that's how the Unforgettable came about.
Unforgettable, the celebrity gala event of the year for the Korean American community. It's like the Korean American Oscars, with awards, entertainment, and a paparazzi-filled red carpet. A huge party where many Korean Americans from all fields, including entertainment, culture, sports, and more, all come together to celebrate each other's successes.
This is great. Anything to raise funds for this magazine. Let's do it. There's a lot of beautiful people here, and everybody's dressed up, you know, nice and snazzy, and I think it's going to be a fun evening.
It's a very proud moment.
This is the first generation. We are the generation that's making this happen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Rue. I'm the editor-in-chief of this publication for KoreAm Journal. I want to welcome all of you to our annual Unforgettable.
Please welcome to the stage. He changed his flight just for us, JY.
And who might this be? Jin Young Park, famous producer and singer from Korea. He has come to grace the event. With the participation of famous celebrities from various entertainment fields, Unforgettable has become more lavish every year. Among the winners, we can see one of the INNERview's former guests, Toby Dawson, among the award winners.
Thanks again for this award, appreciate it. Good evening. Thank you so much for this honor tonight. KoreAm has been a tremendous supporter over the years.
Joseph Hahn, the member of the internationally famous band Linkin Park, is one of the award winners too.
This is really cool.
The Unforgettable Gala has just celebrated its 10th anniversary this year. What an incredible effort KoreAm has put forth in helping Korean Americans get a foothold in mainstream America. KoreAm's passion for the Korean American community is amazing. Kudos for all of your hard work.
How does it feel to be someone who, even though you don't really run a talent agency, I mean, this is not a talent agency, it's a professional publishing company, but you've helped launch the careers, or by working with these people, their careers have really skyrocketed. How does that feel?
Feels good. You know, being a Christian, being just somebody, you know, father of 3 kids, oftentimes my role is not to be the person who shine, but to help others shine. And I think, you know, this magazine is a perfect for that. And we do, you know, look at their talent too. It's not like somebody calls in and says, I want to be an actor, can you put me out there? No, you do have to start, and you have to do it the right way. And we'll support. I mean, you know, we give everybody a second chance. And so in that sense, you know, we do well, things like that. And I think I've always been a believer of supporting others, and especially others. I mean, in going back to even writing too.
Yes.
In the past, you know, 22 years, we've had over 240 interns go through our office.
240?
240.
That's a lot. Wow.
Yeah, and on average, we have about a dozen interns go through every year. So you multiply that by 22 years, we have over 240.
Wow.
And I know, time to time, I run into some of the parents who said, thank you for, you know, having my son or daughter intern at your office. They learned a lot in 3-4 months period, and now, you know, one person is actually teaching in Yale University right now.
Wow.
And one person is being an attorney at some law firm, and it kind of helped them kind of understand what the working environment was, and we helped them. So it makes you feel good, you know, in that sense too.
That's amazing. You know, with your work with not only KoreAm Journal and Audrey Magazine and Unforgettable, you've also put a lot of your love into the KoreAm Pro-Am.
Yes.
And why does it hold such a special place in your heart?
Well, you know, first, you know, because I love playing golf. I picked that up after college. And at one point, just like anybody else, you know, I thought I can be a pro. So I put like 3-4 years of my heart and soul into, and this is while I'm doing KoreAm.
Oh, wow.
In 1990. And in the golf was always been something special for me. And once the LPGA was floodgated with all these Korean players, I was going, wow, that's wonderful. You know, Koreans are out there making in the sports area where in the past years it was dominated by, you know, white,
Old
African
white
American, and everybody else. And so that was wonderful to see that. And about 7 years ago, I was contacted by Pearl Sin. She was one of the first Korean player to play in LPGA. Came to me and said, you know, we got this issue right now of all these Korean players are coming from Korea, but we just don't know how to help them because, you know, they're coming to a whole new country. They don't know the culture. They don't know how to behave themselves or communicate with non-Koreans. And so let's try to figure out a way to maybe give them tutoring and things like that. And so I said, well, you know, being a person who plays golf, and what about we start a Pro-Am? You know, get them to come to my event. We match them with some sponsors, and they can interact one another. And at the same time, I need a way of fundraising anyway, and they help me.
So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, it was something that I thought was win-win. And why don't we donate, you know, $10,000 to LPGA Foundation, and so that in return used for the teaching this all these pros with some of the language teachers.
I see.
And so they thought it was a great idea. We thought it was a great idea, and we started that.
Wow.
And the first year, we sold out. We had 24 pros come, and a big name at that time was Hee Won Han and Jung Jang. They came and they played. And since then, we had Seri Pak came and played. Nayeon Choi's been playing ever since her rookie year. And all these great players are always coming to join us. And of course, we do pay them. It's not a free service for them, but they know it is something that it's good for the community. It is a way of giving back to the community as well. And at the same time, you got all these Korean crazy golfing guys and women, wanted to play with pros.
Yeah.
And they get that opportunity.
Well, that must be amazing because I know Koreans and Korean Americans, Koreans all over the world are crazy about golf. And to create this platform for the people to actually play with a pro, because when do you ever get that experience unless you do something like this? So that must have been amazing for a lot of the people who get to play with these LPGA pros.
Yeah, and a lot of the comments that I hear from the sponsors that would come is that they have, it's one of those experiences you can never forget. We make sure of that because not that they just play, we make a whole 3-day weekend out of this. They would come and do a pairing party. We have a pairing party where you get to find out which pro that you're going to be playing with. And the players gets to meet the pros and they just have a wonderful time together. This is when you actually get to know pros in person. They dress up and we have some drinks, food and karaoke.
Nice.
And so it's a nice mixture of getting to know the pros. And then you play next day with the pro. And after that, there's an award show, award program where the winners will be announced and we donate money to LPGA Foundation.
Fantastic.
And it's a nice event. As a man, I don't like being weak. But I do have to say I'm a very sensitive person. When it comes to tough decisions sometimes, my emotional gets better of me. But that's not necessarily good for business. Sometimes because of the relationship that I have with my employees and the people that I deal with all the time, sometimes I don't make the right decision. But you know what? That may be the weakness, but oftentimes that's the best decision because you decide from your heart rather than your head. And somehow, that's how the miracles are happening all the time.
I find it really interesting that you married a woman at that time that was a year older.
Yes.
And I know in Korea, now things are changed and you can date whoever you want to and marry whomever you want to, age older, younger, it doesn't matter. But at that time, how was that received in your family?
Well, it was okay because, I didn't introduce, my wife, at the time I just called her Tammy and I didn't introduce her as another or just ordinary woman. I took her and said, she's going to law school, Mom. And my mom liked that.
The ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, she's going,
words.
Wow, okay. But her being a year older, we've gone through struggle. I mean, just relationship is always tough, but having somebody older, sometimes as a man I have to step back all the time, especially an attorney, right?
So what do you think is some of the secret to success for having such a long and strong marriage with your wife?
Losing is winning, is what I say. I think in Korean way, it's the same thing, right? 지는 게 이긴다 or something like that. No, I mean, seriously, it's a good communication. I think that's always been the what I'm finding out is having a good communication, whether you're right or wrong. A lot of the argument comes in because misunderstanding, and communication is very important. Sometimes, we communicate by yelling, but we communicate in our house.
Well, your wife is a Los Angeles Superior Court judge.
Yes.
She's the first Asian American,
First female
Korean to achieve that post. And it was huge news when that happened. What was that like for you when all that happened?
You know, it is kind of blurred because that happened 10 years ago. But while it was happening, it was nice. I just went for the ride. I mean, the process was very long and rigorous, and she had to be interviewed by a Jenny Commission to find out she's qualified to be appointed. And at that time, it is controversial because at that time Governor Davis was one who appointed her, and as you know, there was a recall on his election, so he ended up losing to Schwarzenegger. I don't know if I can pronounce his name right.
The Terminator.
The Terminator. And so, you know, it is controversial, but nevertheless, she was qualified to, well, she was appointed by Gray Davis, and it was great for the Korean community, because before that there was no female judge in California.
Wow.
And so, and even before that, there was only one other judge at the time. Mark Kim was the only other judge in California.
Wow.
So she was actually the second acting judge. And after that, you know, we had, I don't know, dozens of it. But she really tried hard, and she made it.
How did you all deal with the pressure of the selection process, and just did your family dynamics change at all as a result of that?
Oh no, I mean for her, no. I mean the Jenny Commission only interviewed her. I think when you apply for federal bench, that they interview the I don't know, number of like 20, 30 family members and friends, and so it is rigorous, but. It was more of her that she had to go through all of those, you know, the hard interviews, hardcore interviews, and to deal with it.
With you and your wife, it seems like you have a really great relationship. What do you think is special about your relationship that really helps you to continue to do what you do?
You know. My family, and I make no apology, and also I don't hide this, is that she's the breadwinner of our house, definitely, because you know, you can find out how much she makes. And before that, she was working as a she was working at Deputy Attorney General. She's a DAG, Deputy Attorney General. She was a pretty high-ranking Attorney General's office in LA. And so she made a lot of money, basically based on that, and we were able to pay through education and things like that through her. On the other hand, I spent the money in the magazine trying to do something good for the community, and so it is great that she was able to do that, and that's how she helped me. If I didn't have a spouse or wife who was able to generate the kind of revenue, I probably could not have do what I'm able to do right now.
Well, she obviously believes in you so much that it's not a problem for her to help you, because she understands the far-reaching effects of this magazine.
Yes, at the beginning was tough. I mean, the first year was very tough. You know, having a one-year-old a kid born in 1991, and she's trying to, you know, changing diapers and things, waking up at night to try to do this, and spending 1 week doing the layout. And I don't know if you know this, at the early 90s, we didn't have a computer, so we had to typeset these things.
Oh my goodness.
So we typeset it, and I had to cut it and paste it onto the board.
Wow.
And then we take that to the printer. And
wow.
everything
Totally
was made
old school.
by, that was old school. We had the X-Acto knife and cutting and all this stuff. And I literally had to spend a whole week at the office during the deadline and to do this. And so sometimes I don't even go home for a whole week. And she was taking care of the little Nicholas at the time. And that was really hard. And, you know, there were many nights. I talked to her on the phone. I mean, and you know, she going, "When are you coming home? When are you coming home?" So there was a struggle, but you know, we persevered, and they're able to handle that.
Wow. You know, there's so much respect, I think, that people feel for you because of the fact that you have really persevered in keeping this company together over this long period of time with the different ups and downs. And I really hope that that you know, maybe in the future, not maybe in the future, but that in the future that whatever you do really has this far-reaching effect. I'm curious, what are your future plans?
You know, I like to live day by day because if I start thinking about what I need to do from a year from now, you know, it could be very stressful because oftentimes, you know, you think of, you do annual budget for the companies and stuff, and the finances has been always in the tough part. And so, you know, especially the last 2-3 years, just the economy just being bad the way it is, and that's been tough. And so, future, I'm not gonna promise anything, but I know it'll be very exciting because, you know, we're revamping our website, we're trying to reach the different audiences. We're in talk with you know, potential partners from Korea to maybe help with K-pop and K-wave into United States, and talking to a couple of companies like that, and that kind of excites me because my ability, I think I reached the limit. You know, this is all I can do. The events that we do, this is all I can do. I'm always looking for next generation to, whether it's editor or publisher, to come and make a greater impact, even more than what I was able to do.
So you can pass on the torch to
yes,
them.
I'm ready to pass on the torch. I've been ready for the last 5 years, but I haven't found anybody.
Maybe I can think about that.
Yes, but it's a very exciting job. You don't get paid a lot, but at the same time, it's very exciting. There's no limitation of what you can do, as long as you know, you fit in the criteria of what we do in the publication.
Wow.
So it is exciting, but you know, I'll be going wherever God is telling me to go.
Well, one of the things that I can assure you is that given that our show is broadcast in 188 countries worldwide, there's a large viewership. I think more people, if they didn't know that KoreAm was around, they're going to know it now.
Okay.
And they can go into your website and check out your current journal and Audrey magazine. And I think that you're going to find a new fan base.
Oh, great.
I'd like to
Looking forward to
see
that.
more of that. And maybe now that you're 50 and just like your friend who owns a Duracoat, you know, when you're 78, you'll be like, oh my goodness, multi-million-dollar business.
Well, we hope. Dad, it's been 2 years since you passed away, and just want to let you know I'm doing well. I know you're thinking of us, and especially looking down from heaven, and always probably giving me the smile that you always give me. And I know you care deeply about these publications, KoreAm and Audrey, that you and I started together. Just want to let you know we're doing well. Not financially, but emotionally, and the spirit is very high. And so I want you to know that. And we will continue this publication, and I don't know how long, but I know, God willing, we will continue for a long time. So, Dad, thank you, and I love you. Miss you dearly.
James, thank you so much for your time today. You've been an amazing guest to talk to and so comfortable to talk to. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for picking me to be your guest.
Absolutely. I wanted to make this a great platform to honor and support someone who's done that for so many people. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.